All right, everybody. So this is my second attempt at making this video. If you're watching this live, you might have been watching the first attempt, and essentially my internet cut out partially through the video. Not the first time that's happened here on my channel, but it seems to have happened again. So I am going to be trying to monitor the chat throughout the course of this video, and what this video is an explanation of how the mainstream media is using a numerical code called Gematria, and it's a simple form of numerology using letters and numbers, and it uses this language alongside dates on the calendars to fabricate fake news stories. So here in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about this story on your left, where we have a man in Colorado named Chris Watts who was charged with murder. With the murder of his family, his wife, and his two daughters. And then we're also going to look at the death of Aretha Franklin, because this code of letters and numbers is based in the real-life belief that God created the world by merging the letter and the number, and the fact that we're all here by the numbers. Now, if you're wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses indoors, all right, they're not sunglasses, they're Gematria goggles. Now, a lot of you people may be familiar with the movie They Live. And in that movie, Rowdy Roddy Piper, who plays the main character John Nada, has these sunglasses that he wears. And as soon as he puts them on, he starts to see the truth. For instance, these signs that usually hold advertisements, they turn to one-word phrases like obey and consume. And some people, like politicians on television, and even the people giving us the news, seem to appear as aliens. And with these goggles, he's able to see the truth. And similarly with Gematria, you're able to see the truth about what is happening with our mainstream news and how it's being constructed by this code. All right. So this story comes to us from Colorado. And Colorado is a very interesting state. A lot of weird things happen there. Of course, we had the Batman theater shooting, the Columbine school shooting, among many other strange events. In the language of Gematria, Colorado, using the alphabetic order, sums to 83. And this practice is very simple. All you do is number the alphabet 1 through 26. This is called English ordinal. You can reverse the alphabetic order so that Z is 1 and A is 26. Both methods can then be reduced to a single digit using the rules of numerology. So these are the full and reverse full reduction ciphers. So in that reduction method, Colorado also sums to 38, and perhaps not by coincidence, Colorado is the 38th state that was admitted to the Union. So Colorado shares these two numbers, 83 and 38, with the word murder. Murder equals 83 and 38 using the reverse ordinal and reduction methods. Notice how murder equals 79 using the standard alphabetic order. This story comes to us from Frederick, Colorado. Frederick equals 79 in the alphabetic order as well. But back to these numbers, 83 and 38 for murder. Colorado, 83 and 38. This man is named Chris Watts. He's accused with killing his family. The name Watts sums to 83 also in the alphabetic order. Notice how you have this number of 34 in the reverse method. Well, this stands out because murder also equals 34 in reduction. So already we've seen all four of these numbers in this story. But look at how old his wife was. Shannon Watts, 34 years old. And check out how old their daughters were. Bella was 3 and Celeste was 4, like 34. They're telling us that she was also 15 weeks pregnant with their third child. And when you write out the number 15, it sums to 34 in reverse reduction. And again, you have another 38 here in full reduction. Remember, Colorado and murder both having this number. In fact, add up the names of the children, Bella and Celeste, and you get 38. So talking about how this is all tied into dates on the calendar. Today's date of August 16th, when we're getting this story, August 16th has reduced numerology of 26. And we're going to talk about the death of Aretha in a little bit. Aretha summing to 26. The 26th prime number is 101. And again, Bella and Celeste summing to 101. Also interesting that you have this 223, which is the same as 15 weeks pregnant. And 223, this is a number of masonry. Masonic equals 223. And we'll talk about how the numbers of our favorite secret society are coded into the headline for this story as well. This Jewish Gematria cipher, by the way, these two ciphers more closely mirror the ancient Hebrew and Greek Gematria and isopsephy charts. Jewish Gematria is based on the Latin order, and the more modern English characters are placed at the end. Otherwise, these are very similar. So this code of letters and numbers, this is all rooted in the Bible. And, the main story in the Bible, or at least the New Testament, is the story of Jesus. And Jesus, of course, was crucified at age 33 under an event that many perceive to be an eclipse. Eclipse equals 33 in reduction. This guy's name, Chris, sums to 33 in reverse. And check out the date numerology of this story. Using multiple calculation methods, you can get to the number 33. And they even found a way to stamp this into the article several times, right? So if you're reading this and you notice that this guy left work at 5:15 on the date of the murder, the number 33, when spelled out, has gematria of 515. And this prime number cipher that we're looking at, based on the alphabetic order 1 through 26, remember the 26th prime is 101. And it just uses associated prime numbers, very simple. Also notice how in the alphabetic order, 33 equals 156. And the length of this video they give us on CNN here, 156, a minute and 56 seconds, and not by mistake. It's because that's how this code is constructed. Something else interesting about 33, the 33rd prime number is 137. And today's date, August 16th, is the date that leaves 137 days in the year. This is also coded into the names of the daughters. We talked about one mathematical cipher, prime numbers. There's also this one called squares, where each number multiplied by itself before being added to the equation. So H, the eighth letter, 8 times 8 is 64. And here you have 303 and 1307. So in numerology, important to note, these zeros are dropped once the equation is complete. So here you essentially have another 33 and 137 on top of all these numbers up here that we already talked about. So for anyone who caught both my live streams, I apologize if I'm being really redundant, but I do want to cover this for everyone who's going to see this video on the second time around, once it's archived and uploaded. So another significant number to this whole code is 13, and this murder occurred on August 13th. The murderer, Chris Watts, sums to 130, reverse alphabetic order, a lot like the number 13. And the 13th prime number is 41. Chris Watts equals 41 in reduction. And notice how Fox News, they've been calling him Psycho Dad on their headline all evening. Psycho Dad sums to 41. So when you write out 13, you get this value of 99. Frederick, Colorado has gematria of 99, reverse reduction. This 13 is also a number of sacrifice. And notice how Frederick, Colorado has this 460 in Jewish. The word sacrifice equals 46 in reduction. Now in Hebrew gematria, the word sacrifice equals 347. And the number 13 summing to 347 as well in Jewish gematria. So this whole thing revolved around death, killing, murder, sacrifice. I mean, I can see how people can say it's a lot of numbers, but so consistently are they attributed in this story. And we're just going to talk about them a little more. A lot of this requires you to follow some of my work to really understand what's going on here. But this is absolutely the case, and I can do this with pretty much every news story. In reverse reduction, Chris Watts sums to 67, which is the same as if you add his wife's name, Chris and Shannon Watts, 67. Now, I commonly talk about how these news stories are also crafted in relation to the dates that local politicians took office, and I think this makes a lot of logical sense. Here we have a story coming out of Colorado, so the logical thing to do is look at the governor of Colorado to see how the dates line up. And normally I would look at the mayor's dates as well. However, Frederick being a small enough city that I'm not really going to, it might be significant, but I usually don't look at the smaller cities. So the reason I bring this all up, 67 being a number of blood and human sacrifice. Well, 67 is the 19th prime number. And how interesting is it that the governor of Colorado is 190 days in his 67th year? Now, I think the name Chris equals 190 also, lining up with this 190 right there. The phrase ritual human sacrifice sums to 211. This is the same as Chris and Shannon Watts, 211 alphabetic order. Also notice ritual human sacrifice summing to 895 in Jewish. That's the same as 33. Now there's a few more alignments just to hammer it home because, again, this code is being used like clockwork. It's as if they worship this code of numbers. Ritual sacrifice also sums to 154, which is the same as Shannon Watts, the name of the wife. And it's funny because 154 is 14 times 11. And look at her Jewish gematria, 1411. So they're telling us that she worked at this company named Lavelle, which also sums to 79, like Frederick, like murder. And there's definitely some symbolism in this company's title as well. But just think of the name Shannon spelled with an A like this. It's very uncommon, right? So you have the 26 reduction. Today's date numerology, again, 26. Shannon also sums to 118 in reverse. And in fact, her maiden name, Shannon Rusek, sums to 1018. The word death, 118. The word homicide, 118. So I kind of hope you're starting to pick up on this a little bit and how it's being used. It's funny. We have this homicide code, 187, right? Even Wikipedia acknowledges this. A lot of rappers use this in some of their old school rap. Well, check it out. The headline of this article sums to 1087 in the reverse alphabetic order, 187, the homicide code. And this story is already completely stamped with the numbers of killing and murder to begin with. There's also some hints at masonry as well, with this 344. All right, and that brings us to Aretha Franklin. And, what's really interesting about her death is how it's lining up to these other stars from Detroit. Aretha Franklin, a Motown artist, Motown based in Detroit, Michigan. Two of the most famous musicians, perhaps, out of Detroit recently have been Kid Rock and Eminem. And towards the end of this video, we'll talk about how those deaths are related as well. I know I said I was going to look at the chat. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to have to put my real glasses on here and take off the Gematria goggles. So I'm just peering in the chat here, and the first question I see here comes from Brandon. He's just asking, fake news. Did the story not happen? Now, I can't say for 100% certain sitting from this chair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, without having done any actual investigative legwork to tell you that this didn't happen, But what I ask you for is the evidence that it did happen, right? What we need to understand is that there's a war on for our minds. Some refer to this as the Third World War. I hope that's what it is. But, look, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to... they're lying to us in order to change our perceptions about the world so that we accept new laws, essentially is what this comes down to. And you've seen some laws change after school shootings and whatnot, but a lot of these shootings are staged events done by the numbers, just as I'm revealing here. So, yeah, I believe 100% that these events aren't happening. This guy didn't really kill his family. And if he did, if these people really are dead, and if that's the case, I apologize to anybody who knows them. But we need to get to the bottom of what's really happening because these stories are constantly coded by the numbers like this. And look, if this is an organic code that's just playing itself out in front of us, then that's still very interesting. But either way, it's something that I feel we need to learn more about. And what's really concerning about this knowledge is that they're starting to censor it. Zach Hubbard lost his first YouTube channel over a year ago sharing this knowledge. I lost my first YouTube channel in February sharing this knowledge. It's because this Gematria business is supposed to be a secret. And the reason it has to be kept secret is because if you know about it, it's too easy to catch on to. I'm a guy who felt like numerology would be something that was too complicated for me to understand. I always knew numbers were important and that things are being done by the numbers on certain dates. 9/11 on 9/11. I mean, come on. But if somebody told me that it was this simple, I'd have a hard time believing them. And I did have a hard time believing this at first. However, when I started actually studying it for myself, because I'm the one who built this calculator, I was really the first person to build a multi-layered calculator and really take a deep dive into it. This is how we discovered reverse gematria together. So the fact that I figured this out, or we figured this out, I built the calculator. Within several months, this information started getting censored immediately. I mean, that was a quick turnaround, and now you're seeing Alex Jones getting taken down, and this is just one way of getting by us. Check this out, for instance, right? Here I am on my page, and I have all these blogs linked. See all these blogs, right? One of them is Extra Capsa, which is a blog that's been around for many years by someone named Brother Berg. And would you look at this shit, Truth Seeker, no longer available, suspended in accordance with our terms of service for turning words into numbers and measuring dates on the calendar. This is now a terms of service violation. Knowledge is being wiped off the internet slowly but surely. They're trying to label people like me who are sharing this code, who actually gives a shit about humanity and the people in it. They're trying to paint us like kooks by throwing people like Alex Jones out there. And yes, Alex Jones is an actor, who's probably Bill Hicks, by the way. And absolutely, buy Zach's book, Letters and Numbers. It's $5. It'll be the best $5 you've ever frickin' spent. And, buy it. Encourage your friends to buy it, but if you have to, print out a copy, share it with them, get the knowledge out there, because this stuff is being wiped out. And just like the box of sunglasses from, They Live, Gematria is like that little bit of truth that's still leaking out there. And like I said, I've already been censored once. It's only a matter of time until they strike this channel down. I was at 7,000 subscribers when I lost my first channel, and now I got like 5,300. So we'll see how high they let it get. But, I guess no more videos on school shootings, right? Because that's what got me taken down. So it's got to play by their rules, I guess. Okay. So let's talk about Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. And really, before I talk about the numerology of her death, well, this is partially her numerology, but I want to talk about how this relates to Michael Jackson. Because they told us Michael Jackson was the king of pop. By the way, king of pop, 292. Michael Jackson died one day after Freemasonry celebrated its 292nd birthday. But anyway, if you measure from his death to the death of Aretha Franklin today, so he died June 25th, 2009, you get exactly 477 weeks. And using prime numbers, ritual sacrifice equals 477. Now this number perhaps ties us back to the Jesuit order, the Society of Jesus. This is the establishment that, alongside Freemasonry, is using letters and numbers to craft our fake news. They were established in the year 1540, which means that right now they're 477 years old. And think about the two biggest mass shootings in the entire history of the nation. Measuring from the Pulse shooting on June 12, 2016 to the Las Vegas shooting, October 1st of the next year, it's exactly a span of 477 days. So even people at 76, I believe, are being murdered by this code. Again, we're all born here, we all die here by the numbers as well. So just something to think about. In something called Sumerian Gematria, this is the alphabetic order times 6. And it's said to be the cipher that's, reveals the number of the beast. It is interesting that the cipher ends on 156. 666 equals 156. But the word death in this method sums to 228. And today, August 16th, is the 228th day of the year. Now, in this cipher, her full name, Aretha Louise Franklin, sums to 1,314. And this is a number that's connected to pi. And you may be saying, well, we know that 314, right? 3.14, the first three digits. Is it cheating if we also say that this number connects to pi? And I don't necessarily think so. I try not to do that, but consider that in Hebrew Gematria, the United States of America has Gematria of 1,314. Or maybe it's just United States. It's one or the other. And in ordinal, it sums to 227. And 22 divided by 7 on a calculator equals 3.14, just as it does in Gematria, 314. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because, again, this is related to the mathematics of the circle. 360 days after the total solar eclipse of 2017 to the death of Aretha Franklin. And again, 360 degrees in a circle, 360 also with this gematria of 227. And if you measure to her birthday in 2019, you find that she died 31 weeks and 4 days before her birthday. Again, the first three digits of pi, 314. Notice how her full name sums to 219. And this woman credited with inspiring feminism, right? Empowering females. And the word feminism, summing to 219, shout out to Bobby and his channel on that number, 219. I also find it interesting that if you measure from her death to the first day of 2019, like her name sums to 219, she died 138 days before 2019, and her name, Aretha Franklin, equals 138, ordinal. So we mentioned how this was related to the most recent total solar eclipse. The next one falls on July 2nd of next year. And if you instead measure to that eclipse, you get 321 days. Aretha Louise Franklin sums to 321. Also, Aretha Louise sums to the same as solar eclipse. Maybe that's a coincidence. I have a hard time believing that. Consider that eclipse equals 33. If you add every number up 1 through 33, this is called the 33rd triangular number, it sums to 561. And checking out this English extended cipher, the one on the left side of the screen, using the current alphabetic order, Aretha Franklin sums to 561, that 33rd triangular number. Also, she's got the 66, the Queen of Souls 66, her nickname. 33 equals 50 or 66 also. Even singer Aretha Franklin sums to 330, reverse alphabetic order. Again, this 33, this is a number of sacrifice tied into the crucifixion code. Jesus was crucified at age 33, and in Gematria, crucifixion of Jesus Christ equals 303. And, you also got a 123 reduction. Singer Aretha Franklin, 123. Aretha Louise Franklin, 123. A lot of connections here to the crucifixion code. And again, she's dead on a date with 33 numerology. As far as this 123 goes, check this out. You also get a 677 when you look at the prime relationship. Aretha Louise Franklin, 677. Now, what's also interesting, Aretha, she was commonly known by her first name, right? It was kind of like Madonna, in a sense. Aretha, everyone knows who you're talking about. In reduction, Aretha sums to 26. She was called the Queen, 26. She died of cancer, summing to 26. Both the date that she was born and the date she died, if you add all the digits in those dates together, you get 26. On top of that, today also has numerology of 53, and Aretha summing to 53 ordinal. CNN also gave us some coding on the headline. In all caps up there, they put up, or at least in large font, they put unnatural woman. And again, we just looked at these numbers in the last video. Sacrifice, summing to 46, just like a natural woman. Ritual sacrifice, 154. In the reverse alphabetic order, this subheadline they gave us, the one under the picture, it always has relevant numbers in it. And it sums to 1408. I just did a post yesterday. Why can't I get this? EJNYC, we had a reality star from that television show die, completely by this code as well. That had gematria of 1048. This headline, 1408. When you drop this Jewish cipher down to an ordinal base, so instead of amplifying the numbers, we're just numbering them 1 through 27. 33 sums to 148, which is the same as ritual sacrifice. So absolutely, this number was intentionally coded in here. And of course, right there, it says she's dead at 76. This headline also with 760 gematria with all exceptions applied. And what did we just see in the last headline, right? 1807, or was it 1087? Either way, we had the 187 for the homicide code. And once again, Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, has died. This sums to 187 reverse reduction. All right. All right, guys. We're also going to talk about how this is related to the careers of other Detroit musicians. And, of course, a shout out to Zach Hubbard and his blog, Free to Find Truth. Make sure you pick up this book, Letters and Numbers, share the knowledge. What this book will give you is a solid knowledge base on basically a little bit of everything. So it's nice to be able to go around and have a conversation with somebody, and whatever that person is talking about, you now have knowledge based on that. Of course, not everything they talk about, but all these famous events from history that someone might bring up, a lot of these current news events from the past couple of years especially, detailed at length in here. So it gives you a nice base to really to have confidence when you're talking about this kind of stuff, because it's not that different from like a stand-up routine, right? When you're talking about numbers to somebody and trying to get them to understand it, you have to build some sort of relatability. You have to build some sort of rapport with that person before you can really get them to understand it. But that aside, this even ties into Babe Ruth, who died on the same date that Aretha did back in 1948. But never mind that for now. Let's first look at Kid Rock. And this guy's 47 years old. So earlier I mentioned how ritual human sacrifice equals 211. This is the 47th prime number. The word killing in prime numbers also sums to 211. And on the date of Aretha Franklin's death, let's look at how old he was. "47 years, 211 days. Kid Rock equals 47. Robert James Ritchie. Yeah, so his birthday of January 17th even syncs up with his name Gematria, 117 right there. So you have this wild alignment with the 47 and the 211. And then you also have this from Detroit rapper Marshall Mathers, a.k.a. Eminem. Marshall Mathers sums to 168. And think about today's date, 16th of August. Internationally, this is written 16/8. Mathers was born on October 17th of 72. So check this out. You have Kid Rock, born 117. The number 13 has this gematria of 117. This is our ritual code. And perhaps these birthdays completely constructed ritualistically by the numbers. But yeah, Kid Rock, 117. And then Eminem, 1017, 117. So it's interesting, yeah, he's 303 days after his birthday. But if you instead measure to his next birthday, you find he's 62 days before his 46th birthday. And in reduction, the word sacrifice equals 46 and 62. And then you have today's date numerology, 8 plus 16 plus 20 plus 18, summing to 62. Let's see. As far as Eminem being 46 years old, or at least, turning 46, coming up in October, the word rap equals 46. So Kid Rock, 47. Rock, 47. Eminem, 62 days before his 46th birthday. Rap equals 46. It's really incredible, what this record industry is doing with these rituals. I can't believe it. I guess this also ties into Babe Ruth, too. I mean, think about it. Dead on the same date exactly 70 years ago. What was 70? I noticed this number a couple of times. Bella and Celeste, the two daughters in that story, right? You got 70 Gematria. Their mom's maiden name had this number too. And yeah, 70 years to the day before Aretha Franklin died, Babe Ruth died. And Babe equals 26, just like Aretha. The date that Babe Ruth died had a life lesson number of 46. So no shortage of interesting alignments here, guys. So yeah. Yeah, and you got to wonder about whether or not these people are really dying like they say, or if they're just leaving the world stage. 76, certainly, you could see someone dying of natural causes at that age, especially if they have cancer. But, I ask you, where's the evidence that she has cancer? I mean, that sounds like a sick thing to say. But when you look at what I'm sharing and understand how this is all going on, then something's definitely up. All right, guys, so I think that's going to wrap up this news stream. I know I definitely have more to cover. My podcast is going to be live on Saturday morning. I'll go live at I think I'll go live at 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 Eastern on Saturday morning. And I got a ton of posts from this week already. I mean, it's been a really busy news week. Definitely a lot to talk about. We have the bridge collapse. And in that podcast, I'm going to discuss how this was a ritual related to 9/11 and the events in the September 11th attacks here in America. 100%, this is numerically connected. Even the mayor of Genoa, the president of Italy, both of them with ideal numbers for a revelation ritual like this. All right, everybody, that'll do it. Keep seeking and speaking that truth. God bless. Have a good night. Peace.